scheme to forcibly deport thousands of Ukrainian children to Russia. This is a topic that we've been talking about so much on the show. Let me get back to Ivan Watson. He's back in here. He's joining me now with more on this. Ivan, what are you hearing about this?
Wait, the arrest is not because of the war in Ukraine. It's just because kids have been deported from Ukraine to Russia.
Of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. They've also issued an arrest warrant for a second Russian official that I don't think people will recognize her name. Her name is Maria Lvova Belova, and she is the Commissioner for Children's Rights in the office of...
You see what I said on one of my previous videos? These guys on top, these politicians, these powerful people, it's hard to pin them down. The warrant of arrest is not even because of the war in Ukraine, but it's because of kids being deported to Russia. So you can see they're just trying, they're looking for way, for means to not deal with the real issue.
Ukrainian children to Russia has basically played up the adoption of some of these children and basically claiming that they're rescuing these kids. The ICC clearly views this very differently, saying that this is illegal what it's doing, and has taken, I think, a very precedent-breaking step of, again, issuing an arrest warrant.
So Putin is wanted, dead or alive.
Accusing them of kidnapping Ukrainian children basically since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine last year.
You know, Ivan, I had the former ambassador at large for war crimes issues, Stephen Rapp, on earlier this week, and this is one of the issues that we were talking about. And he said he was just in Lviv speaking to a child who was able to be returned from Russia only because their family member went to extreme lengths in order to try to find them after they say that this allegedly happened to this child. And the thing is, it's pretty hard right now to even know the scope of how many children have been taken, kidnapped, abducted, and taken to Russia. The United States has put the number at somewhere saying at least 6,000.
6,000 kids. How old are the kids? So if they are saying kids, that means they are below the age of 16. Or less even, 6,000 of them.
Terrible and bloody fog of war. I mean, you have entire cities that had populations of hundreds of thousands of people that have been smashed, reduced to rubble, children orphaned, and probably bodies that have yet to be found of some of the civilian casualties.
To be honest, that is sad. It doesn't matter which side you belong to, it doesn't matter which side you support, but war in itself is bad. War is never justified for any means to solve a problem, because war only creates new problems. Now, kids were abducted, kids have been forced into adoption.
Trying to build cases basically against the Russian military.
It's not only destroying the families, you're destroying the kids, their lives. You are creating problems, future problems for future generations.
One piece of this, it is the one that the ICC has focused on the most. So I would guess that they see that there is a cut and dry kind of international law that is being broken here with the movement of juveniles, of minors across international borders without the permission of the parents.
And if the parents are alive, then that's worse.
Already anticipate some of the response that will be coming from the Kremlin. They will most likely deny that the ICC has any jurisdiction whatsoever over the Russian government, over Vladimir Putin. And it's not just them. I mean, I can recall that the Trump administration publicly saying the ICC has no jurisdiction over the U.S. government. So it's a powerful statement. It's a bold statement, the issuing of this arrest warrant, but it will likely have little effect whatsoever on the day-to-day behavior and policies of Putin himself.
Yeah. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
And to the Russian military, that people are watching its behavior on the ground here. This this is just one case, one very high-profile case that has just been announced. I was just yesterday meeting with a Ukrainian police officer here in charge of hundreds of investigators, and he says most of their work right now is to gather information about alleged Russian war crimes on the ground here. You're hearing air raid sirens over my shoulder. Every time the Russian military fires rockets, cruise missiles, artillery at Ukrainian towns and cities, investigators come in soon after to document that and to prepare cases against the Russian military for alleged war crimes. Kate?
Ivan, stick with me if you could, because David McKenzie is joining us.
Is anybody going to be accountable? Is anyone going to be held responsible for these atrocities? I'm not sure.
Well, it's certainly an extremely significant moment, this, that a sitting head of state, particularly Vladimir Putin, whose country is on the Permanent Security Council, being issued an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court. It is very rare for a state to face this kind of warrant, and even if, as Ivan says, in the short term it is symbolic, it is hugely symbolic. And this case deals with the thousands of children alleged to have been taken from their parents or coerced from their parents, taken from Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine into what the researchers and the ICC has called re-education camps. Now, we've spoken to
Re-education camp.
parents just a few weeks ago. We told the story of parents going into Crimea and rescuing their children from these kind of re-education camps. At the most serious, allegation talks about the orphans that were taken from state facilities and into Russia, given to Russian parents. Now, while Vladimir Putin and the head of his group that is involved with children's rights have been named in this arrest warrant, they will say, and they have repeatedly said, this is an issue of protecting the children, something that really doesn't fly with the facts. When you look at these children going to these camps and being taught in Russian, being forced to sing the Russian national anthem, separated there from their parents forcibly, those parents often and still are separated from those children. So a very important symbolic moment, just one case of many that has been looked at to accuse Russian officials, the president and their military men of war crimes.
Moments ago,
So how do you go into a particular region and then you separate kids from the parents that you're protecting them? How is that even logical? You're snatching kids from the parents, taking them to across the border, and you're saying you're protecting them. How? It's just twisted. It's just crazy. But for the International Criminal Court warrant of arrest for Putin, that is not going to hold water. That is just... Putin is never going to leave Russia anyway. Are they going to go into Russia to arrest him? I don't think so. And he's never going to leave Russia. Even if he leaves Russia, he goes to neighboring countries which are his allies, like Belarus. So even if he goes to China, they're not going to arrest him in China. So that International Criminal Court warrant of arrest, I don't know. Maybe it's just for... Anyway, this just came out a few minutes ago. I came back from picking my daughter from school and I had to jump on it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Get me to 67,000 subs if you can, and I'll appreciate that. See you guys on the next one.